Brandon Clarke tore his Achilles tendon in March 2023. He fought through a PCL sprain the next year. He came back from a calf strain and knee synovitis this season. At 29, the Memphis Grizzlies forward was supposed to be entering his prime. Instead, police found him dead in his San Fernando Valley home on Monday, with drug paraphernalia scattered around him. The investigation is focusing on a possible overdose. But the real story starts 3 years ago, when Clarke's left Achilles gave out. That's when the pain began, not just the physical kind, but the deeper erosion that happens when an athlete's body becomes unreliable. Clarke wasn't just recovering from torn tissue. He was navigating a system that knows how to fix ligaments but has no protocol for what happens inside a player's head when the thing they've built their entire life around starts falling apart. 6 weeks before his death, Arkansas deputies pulled Clarke over after a high-speed chase that hit 100 miles per hour. Inside his car, they found more than 230 grams of kratom, a plant-based substance that binds to the same opioid receptors as morphine. In Arkansas, kratom is a controlled substance. Clarke was charged with trafficking. But here's what the arrest report didn't say: kratom is what thousands of people use when they're trying to manage chronic pain without prescription opioids, or when they're trying to get off them. It sits in a legal gray zone across most of America, banned in 6 states, unregulated everywhere else, sold in gas stations and smoke shops as a supplement. Athletes have turned to it quietly for years, especially the ones whose careers have become a cycle of injury, surgery, rehab, and re-injury. Clarke wasn't just another injury-prone player. He was a first-round draft pick out of Gonzaga, a third-team All-American who made the NBA All-Rookie First Team in 2020. The Grizzlies had given him a 4-year, $50 million contract. But after the Achilles tear, he never played a full season again. The injuries stacked up. And somewhere in that spiral, the line between pain management and something darker got blurred. Here's the mechanism nobody wants to examine. When an NBA player tears an Achilles, the league provides world-class surgeons, physical therapists, and strength coaches. What it doesn't provide, at least not with the same institutional force, is a plan for what to do when the pain doesn't go away, or when the fear of re-injury becomes paralyzing, or when the player realizes that the opioids prescribed after surgery are the only thing that makes the anxiety stop. The NBA has mental health resources. It has a substance abuse program. But it doesn't have a system that treats physical injury and psychological collapse as the same medical emergency. So players improvise. Some turn to kratom. Some turn to worse. The day Clarke was arrested, he was driving back from a road game. He wasn't hiding the kratom, it was sitting in plain view. When deputies asked about it, he reportedly said he used it for pain. The league never commented publicly on the arrest. The Grizzlies said they were aware of the situation and would handle it internally. That was 6 weeks ago. Now Clarke is dead, and the same officials who found drug paraphernalia in his home are the ones trying to piece together whether this was an accidental overdose or something else. What makes this story different from the usual tragedy narrative is that Clarke wasn't a fringe player spiraling in obscurity. He was 7 years into an NBA career. He had institutional support, a guaranteed contract, and access to medical care that 99.9% of the population will never see. And still, the gap between injured athlete and person in crisis was wide enough for him to fall through. The broader question is this: how many other players are managing pain the same way Clarke was, in the space between what team doctors will prescribe and what the body is screaming for? Kratom use among athletes isn't tracked. The NFL doesn't test for it. The NBA doesn't have a policy on it. It exists in the same legal and medical blind spot as CBD did 5 years ago, except kratom is far more dangerous, and far more likely to be mixed with substances that can kill. Clarke's former teammate Ja Morant posted a tribute on Instagram. "You fought through so much, bro. That's the part everyone will remember, the fight, the resilience, the grind. What they won't remember is that the fight itself might have been the problem. That the culture that celebrates playing through pain is the same culture that leaves players alone with a bag of kratom and no clear path back to stability." Clarke survived the Achilles tear. He survived the PCL sprain. He survived every physical injury the sport threw at him. What he couldn't survive was the aftermath, the invisible part, the part that doesn't show up on an MRI, the part that nobody teaches you how to endure when the game you've dedicated your life to starts taking more than it gives.